Hello, my name is Naya Harris, and welcome to the ODM English Show. My guest today is Peg Kenda, and I cannot wait to talk with her all about her business and her entrepreneurial journey, so stay tuned. Hello, Peg. How are you?
Hi, Naya. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing so great. It's a 60-degree day. The sun is shining. Gosh. Finally.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, we are in Minnesota, Twin Cities, and we've been waiting a long time for this.
This has been a long time coming. I'm so excited about this, and I just can't wait to hopefully, be able to go out there, go on walks, enjoy the nicer weather,
yes.
And it's super exciting.
Yes, and as you said earlier, wear some shorts.
Absolutely. I can't wait for that time. And hopefully, you said next week, right?
Friday.
It's Friday.
74 degrees,
that's
yes.
in a couple of days. So,
yes.
Yeah, look forward to it. Absolutely. Can't wait.
Well, we'll talk more about weather later, but I want to hear more about your business and your journey. So take me back to when your business, Reliable Billing, when that started and how you came up with the idea. Take me back there.
Yeah. So I got my bachelor's in marketing and finance, my MBA in management, finished school. I was looking for a job. I knew nothing about medical billing at all. Did not even know it was a thing back in college. Mm-hmm. If you would have told me in college I would end up in medical billing, mm-hmm. I most likely would have labeled you crazy. Because why? Why be in medical billing? Yeah. From just coming to the U.S. at a young age and having to obtain health insurance and just, trying to navigate that world and understanding the nuances behind it and the challenges, mm-hmm. and even being able to get your claims validated and paid from the insurances. It is not a world that I was aspiring to be a part of. Mm-hmm. However, as fate would have it, I stumbled upon it. I finished school, was looking for a job. I got hired at a treatment center, and they happened to be short-staffed in the billing department. And so, they decided to train me on billing so I could fill in for them. Mm-hmm. And that's how I learned how to bill. So they taught me about billing, coding. They taught me about, modifiers, authorizations, billing platforms, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And, I realized early on that there were so many smaller providers out there mm-hmm. that did need backup and needed help in billing, but did not have the resources or did not even need a full-time person. Mm-hmm. And so I started just having them outsourced to me mm-hmm. and consulting with them and helping them out in billing. Mm-hmm. And that's how Reliable Billing came to be.
Okay.
And we've been going strong ever since. So I left the treatment center, started consulting full-time just in medical billing, mm-hmm. and I opened up in October 2018 officially.
October 2018,
okay. We've been going strong ever since. We've added services. So we started with just medical billing, and then we, started getting phone calls from providers that wanted to bill, mm-hmm. but did not even have the right contracts to bill. Mm-hmm. And so we added contracting to our services, mm-hmm. and then the phone calls came about, we already have contracts, but we want to expand and add more providers onto our contracts, and so they needed credentialing for those contracts, and so we added credentialing services to our list of services we provide, mm-hmm. and then consulting. We would get phone calls about providers that had questions about just the billing itself. So they were not looking for a biller per se, mm-hmm. but they did want more support and, just someone that could just come in and look at the billing and be able to let them know exactly, what they were doing wrong and how they could improve. And so we added consulting services, and then came licensing because there was also a need for that, and we were getting those phone calls from providers. So it was all organic. Mm-hmm. But now we offer all of those services, and it's been a great ride.
That's amazing. Yeah. That is amazing. Well, I have to ask, since your path started with the treatment center, have you had an opportunity to go back to the treatment center, provide them services? Do they know what you're doing now?
It's funny you say that. So the owner of the treatment center, as I was leaving, she actually sold the practice to others, and those individuals ended up calling me. They had no idea that I had worked at the center prior to them acquiring it, because I left right before it was official. Mm-hmm. But they called me, I think it was probably 3-4 years ago, they called and they wanted someone to come in and help them collect because they were so behind on collections.
Oh, wow.
And we signed the paperwork, and they go to enter me in the system, and then I get a call, and the lady was like, well, I see your name in the system. Have you been in the system before? And I had to tell her, yes, I used, actually, that's where I learned how to bill before I opened up Reliable Billing. So it all came full circle.
Wow.
And I ended up helping them out with their billing temporarily. Unfortunately, I think they had to close their doors.
Okay.
But I hope they, are able to come back and open back up, and I would be able to certainly assist them further if they needed to.
Yes.
It was funny how that worked out.
Yes.
And how it all came full circle from me having started there, just in billing, and now, just being the company they outsourced to for help.
Yes.
And
wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. Gotta love a full circle moment.
Absolutely. That moment there made me realize that I was in the right field. I was meant to be in billing.
Yes.
I found my thing. And
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, we all know entrepreneurship, or maybe we don't know. I know I personally know that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of this, right?
Absolutely.
You have high highs, you have low lows.
Yeah.
Tell me about, I want you to tell me about a high high, but tell me about a low low that you've experienced and how you've made it through that.
We've had a lot of high highs, just being able to be recognized by the community. We've gotten a few awards. We've gotten the Better Business Bureau Award. We got 2 awards from them. One was for integrity, and the other, I don't recall exactly, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But we've gotten them to, we've gotten 2 awards from them. We just recently were nominated, or were recognized by the Woodbury Chamber of Commerce as the best business in the city. And then we've had the National Guard also sent us a certificate that was just thanking us for our services to them. And that came about because we have a lot of individuals that work for the National Guard that also work for the company, that we've been able to be flexible with to allow for them to, go on to, whatever training they had to be out for, like weeks at a time. Sure. Or if they were to have gotten a phone call randomly where they had to just stop and show up for service. We certainly made room and accommodated for that. And, so that certainly, those were great moments for me personally and for the company as well. Lows would be, I would say, anytime I have an unhappy client is a low for me. Anytime I get a phone call about a client that is, whether it's a communication issue, whether they feel as though they are not collecting as much as they should, whether they feel as though they are delays with, them being able to obtain, whether it's a license or a contract from their insurances. Anytime there are issues on that end, that is a low for me. And it's always hard getting those phone calls, but then you get that motivation to just get out there and you work harder and you fix things and you do your best. You just make sure that ultimately whatever the clients want, although there are times where it has to do with the insurances, right? It may not always be us. We kind of have to go off of their schedule and however long they need to process the paperwork.
Sure.
But you still kind of feel that guilt, and you understand where they're coming from. They do need to get paid to keep their doors open.
Right.
They have payroll to make. They have leases to pay for, and those are always lows, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And losing. I've lost a couple great employees that started with me while they were going to school and finished school, and it was not what they went to school for.
Sure.
And having them leave has been difficult at times.
Yeah.
So I would say those are just a few low moments that I've had to experience over the years.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've always persevered though and got through, right?
At this point I feel as though there's no going back. I just, whatever the challenge is at the time or whatever the roadblock is, my mind has been made up for a long time. This is what I want to do. This is the field I want to be in. Yeah. So regardless of whatever is happening, on the outside, there's just no turning around.
Yeah.
So I have to find a path forward, and I always, so far, I've always been able to do
Well,
that.
with that attitude, I don't think that you'll ever have an issue. So,
That's the goal. That's the goal, and that is certainly what I hope for.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned one of the lows is employees, and that was one of the questions that I definitely was going to ask you. Is tell me about your staff. Tell me about like who supports you in reliable billing.
Yeah, I have great staff members. I'm grateful for every single one of them. I have a lot of admins, so I have some that handle more so just the eligibility verifications, the phone calls, the processing of credit card payments for the providers, and then I have, to me, at the core, the billing is really, what we excel at. So I have some great billers on my team. I have some amazing team leads as well. I have a great operation manager, a great office manager, and I would not be able to do any of this without them all.
Yeah. It takes a great team.
Oh my God,
Yes.
and I need all of them.
Yes.
To come in and give me, the best they can, and learn when needed. There's always room for growth and improvement, for them and for I.
Sure.
And so it's always, striving to find that balance and making sure we all have the resources we need to be able to provide the best service possible to our providers.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you what's a typical day like for you, right? Because as an entrepreneur you wear many hats.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like?
Well, I never know what my day will be like until, I get up and I check my emails and my, if I have any voicemails overnight or any Teams messages. So I check those and kind of prioritize based off of that. Okay, who needs the most help right now? And it's always important, before I even get to what I need to do, I have to make sure my staff have what they need. Because then if they don't, they are stuck and nothing is moving forward.
Right.
And so that's what I base my days off of. So it's just making sure that every single one of my staff members has the support they need, any documentation they may need, any extra training they may need, making sure I have that coordinated and planned out. And once I feel as though all of that is settled, then I get to what I have to do, which is, returning phone calls, being out there networking, checking out my emails, sending out contracts to new providers, and, checking in on invoicing and, all of that good stuff. Or even, calling providers, just randomly every now and again when I'm able to, and just kind of check in and make sure, we still are on the same page, and that, there are no issues, and that they are still satisfied with services. But it's a lot of phone calls, usually. Lots of phone calls, lots of emails, lots of, Teams messages, lots of meetings, for sure. On average daily, I want to say I have probably 6 to 7 meetings. Some are shorter than others. But lots of meetings for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow, that is a full day indeed.
Absolutely.
What would you say is probably the biggest misconception in your field? So most of the public, their only dealings with medical billing is when they go to the doctor, it's not covered by insurance, and then they get a bill in the mail, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of most people's experience. But what's the biggest misconception, would you think?
The biggest misconception, I would say, is that things are more streamlined than they are. It's
Say more.
It is still a lot of paperwork being printed out, being faxed over. It's still a lot of, we lost the paperwork, can you resend it? Oh, well, I called and I spoke to Annie this morning. Oh, there's no Annie in this department.
Oh, no.
So we have a long way to go, and I would say that's the biggest misconception. That is super streamlined. All you have to do is just do the data entry and click, and then the claim goes out and you get paid. And it's so much more complex than the common person would ever know.
Okay.
We deal with a lot behind the scenes.
So we get a little bit of inside knowledge here then, because that's kind of the way a lot of things work, is what you just described. Data entry, everything is kind of paperless, but it's still kind of a little bit behind the times.
Ideally, it would be that way, but more often than not, you get claims that get rejected when they really should not be, or get denied for the wrong reasons, or get approved or authorized, and then you bill, and then it gets denied after it was already authorized by an insurance company. So there's just a lot of fighting that you have to do for providers to get paid. It's a lot of, getting on the phone and just reminding them of what they had said or sent prior, or the emails back and forth, and asking for supervisors or upper management to get involved. And yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this brings me to my next question then. Yeah. It's a happier question.
Okay.
I like to ask this question of everyone that I interview.
Yeah.
Is what's bringing you joy right now? We got a lot going on in our world.
Yeah.
Where are we at? March 12th, 2025, right?
Yeah.
Like, we got a lot happening. What's bringing you joy?
I love what I do. I know that sounds so cliche, but I get up excited, challenges and all. Hard days and all, stressful days and all, I still am excited when I get up in the morning. I can't wait to find out what's happening with the team, what's happening, in the insurances world, what changes are happening. So that still excites me. As far as joy, I enjoy just when I have time, just peace and being able to, get back to myself, do some reading, even cleaning at times, brings me joy. And, just quiet. It's just I have to be in meetings a lot, and with the phone calls, and there's always things happening. So I say at times just quiet. And I enjoy traveling too. Traveling is always fun when I'm able to.
Do you have some traveling on the docket?
Not on the horizon right now. There's one continent I have not been to, which is Antarctica.
Okay.
So I did want to go in February, but I had a lot going on with conferences and just with work overall. So I was not able to make that happen, but that is one trip I want to take.
Okay.
So I think I'm missing the window right now because the seasons are flipped over there. So as it gets warmer here, it's going to start to get cold there.
Yeah.
But hopefully next year sometime.
Okay.
I'll get to go.
Add it to the bucket list.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a conference, I think it's in Pennsylvania in May that I'm going to.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be, I'll try to make the best of it.
Yeah, so some domestic travel coming up.
Absolutely.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, you've been to every continent except for one, as you just imagined.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this. What was your favorite place?
My favorite continent? I'm from Africa, so
It's a no-brainer.
First is Africa.
Yes.
Let's see. So I would say Africa. I love. And then I gotta say North America because I live here, so that has to be second. Yeah. So talk to you.
Favorite place you visited?
Favorite place. Oh gosh, let's see. I love Tokyo a lot. Tokyo was fun.
Okay.
I enjoyed Tokyo. Tokyo was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, you are a woman of many talents, and you just sound like a joy. Like, I could talk to you all day about all of your travels and adventures.
Yeah.
Wow, Peg, that is so fascinating. I really would love to ask you more questions, and in fact, I think I'm going to.
Okay.
Well, stay tuned. We are going to be back in just a moment with Peg Kenda and learn a little bit more about her story as an immigrant and a few other things. Stay tuned.
Well, hello guys, I am Peg Kenda from Reliable Billing. We are located in Woodbury, Minnesota. We've been in business since October 2018. We offer not just medical billing services, but also we assist providers in obtaining contracts with their insurances. We also help out with credentialing for any existing contracts and new providers that are being onboarded. We also provide licensing help as well as consulting in medical billing. We are a team of about 35 staff members. We have providers that offer all kinds of services, whether it's the behavioral health field. We have some clinics, hospitals that we work with. We have some nurse practitioners. We also help out with housing facilities, 245G licensed facilities, arms facilities, and so forth. It has been a great journey for myself, having started out with my MBA in management and being hired at a treatment center just right after college and being trained into billing, and then consulting in the medical billing field for a while, and to have finally been able to start my company and see it grow by as much as it's been able to grow has been a wonderful blessing. We do really take pride in having been able to assist so many providers in not only the Twin Cities metro area, but we've also had and still have providers from all over the U.S. and it's been a great ride that we certainly are grateful for, and we've been able to help so many providers, you know, come out of the pandemic and still be able to remain in business and to even thrive beyond that, and that is something we do not take lightly. We do realize there are quite a few providers out there that would rather keep an in-house biller or might have an in-house billing team, which is great if that is what works for them. However, oftentimes we hear about struggles that those billing teams or billers may have, and so if they were any issues with providers or in-house billing teams just being behind in collections or accounts receivable, or even struggling to maintain their credentialing, or even just make sure that the contracts remain in good standing, we are also able to assist those teams with just like a one-time cleanup projects, or just temporarily step in to offer an extra set of hands and kind of help make sure things turn around and that they are able to get caught up with whatever they were behind and to begin with, and then take it from there and eventually grow. And so, please check out our website at reliablebilling.org, or email us at inquiries@reliablebilling.org. And you can also give us a call at 612-306-8499. Thank you so much.
Why is having health insurance important? Health insurance helps you pay for visits to the doctor and your medications. You can get help signing up for free or lower cost health insurance. When you keep yourself and your family healthy, you help keep your community healthy. Find out if you're eligible for Minnesota Care today. Visit mn.gov/DHS/Minnesota Care to learn more.
Thank you so much for coming back and meeting with me. And I have just a few more questions.
No problem.
I know you've had a really full day today, so I thank you again for being with me today.
Absolutely.
Happy International Women's Day, right?
you.
That happened just a few days ago.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I know that you are an immigrant from Burkina Faso, correct?
correct, yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
It's been an interesting journey, just coming to the U.S. with no family, and at such a young age. I think I was between 16 and 17 years old, and I got tricked, actually. That's how I ended up in Minnesota.
Okay.
So the background story is I finished high school, started college, and I went to a school in Dakar, Senegal, and it was a branch out of Suffolk University. So Suffolk opened up a school in Dakar with the goal of having students go to school there for like a year or two and then transfer over to the Suffolk University in Boston. Now, but you did have the choice to go to any other American university of your choice. And I have met some students there that were older than me that finished school ahead of me and transferred to Southwest State in Marshall. And I kept in touch with them, and I kept asking them about the city and how they felt about it. And I was looking for a school to transfer to, and they told me the weather was perfect. It was great weather. It was like LA and New York, and I knew no better, right? We had Google, but I should have been using it back then, and I wasn't. So I took their word for it, and so I get here, get to Marshall, and I'm looking around like, okay, so where is the Statue of Liberty? Where is Rodeo Drive? I'm trying to, where do we go shopping? And I mean, it was, so they lied to me, tricked me, but I was glad I ended up in Marshall because the town was so small that it made it to where you really had not much else to do but study. So it allowed for me to just be focused on school. And but yeah, it's been an interesting journey, just fighting your way through, and just not taking no for an answer. I remember in college I started out, I would literally sweep the dorms in school with the other kids. I would like sweep, mop, vacuum, and then go to class with them and sit right with them and learn from the same teachers. But I was here, I had my mind made up that I was going to make the most of the opportunity given to me.
Yes.
And I was going to keep fighting my way through, and there was no stopping me.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, that is quite a story. What is your best advice for other immigrant women, since this is Women's Month, right?
Yeah.
What's your best advice for other immigrant women with a similar path as yours? I guess besides getting tricked, right?
No, I would say honestly, you gotta just learn to not pay attention to all the noise. You're gonna hear a lot about, you can't do it, don't even try, they would never let you in those doors, no one would trust you. They could have told me, as an immigrant woman, that no one would ever trust me with their billing, especially like, bigger, like mid-sized companies or even clinics, hospitals. They looked at me and probably figured there's no way, just because of who you are.
Right.
At the end of the day, people don't care. That is what I realized. When it comes to finances and billing, they want to get paid. It's about who is going to get paid. They're not gonna worry about what you look like, how you talk. If you are able to get me through with the insurances, and you understand the concept of billing, and you get me paid faster so I can stay in business, that's who they're going with.
Right.
So you could argue that perhaps at first you have to fight hard to prove yourself to them, but once you are able to show them the results they are wanting or expecting, even if that takes you saying, what, you may not know me enough to trust me right now, but let me just give me a shot. I will try. You may not even have to pay me right away, but let me just show you what I can do. And then you build your portfolio, and then people talk. You do great work for this one person, and then they'll start, they go to the same conferences, they are on social media on the weekend, they are out getting their licenses renewed together, and they will start talking about, my biller or whatever service you're offering is great, and that's who you have to go to. So what I would say is, just keep on working on, perfecting your skills, and do not take no for an answer, and keep your head down, and do not pay attention to all the noise.
That's wonderful.
If you know what you want, just go for it.
That's great advice.
And the other thing I would say is, you never start, and you know that, you don't start a business knowing everything about it.
Right.
To date, I would never claim I know every single thing about medical billing. There's no way. But you have, as long as you are willing to learn.
Right.
You get started, and then you learn as you go, and, you do your research, and and then you just keep moving, and before you know it, you would be surprised at how much you can accomplish. Don't just wait thinking, well, I gotta know every single thing, or like know so much before I can get started. That's not gonna happen. You have to be able to learn as you go.
Absolutely.
So just get started is what I would say. Just start and work hard, and don't pay attention to the noise. If they say you can't do it, you have the wrong people around you. Wow. Just try to find better people to surround yourself with.
I love that. That is great advice. Peg, if there were, say there's someone's watching this right now, so there's a young woman watching right now and saying, I wonder if her team is, if she's looking to hire, is she looking to, add to her team, how would she get in touch with you? And I guess, first and foremost, are you looking to build your team? And how would she get in touch with you?
So I have a pretty solid team right now. I have over 40 staff members working for me.
Wow.
But I'm growing every day. On a weekly basis, I probably get 4 or 5 phone calls from providers. Not all of them are going to end up signing a contract, but they at least are interested or curious about our services, or may have a question about billing that they are wondering if you can, assist them with. And so what I would say is, you never know if they want to, check us out on our website. There's a way to email us on there at reliablebilling.org, or they can email us. We have our inquiries email address is inquiries@reliablebilling.org. Or our phone numbers on our website as well, and they can go on there, and if they can shoot us an email, and if we happen to be hiring, even if we are not right now, chances are we will be
in the future.
Exactly, and we can reach out then.
So they can reach you at reliablebilling.org.
That's correct.
Whether they have questions about potentially, being an employee, or if they just have questions about your services.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
or inquiries at reliablebilling.org. They can email us on there as well.
Okay.
Or our phone number is on our website too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. The main thing is check out the website.
Absolutely.
I think.
Go to
yes.
the website and check us out. And we always are happy to assist. I have providers that call me and may not want to sign on for services, but they may have questions about, one thing they may be struggling with. And it could be something simple that has, stopped them from being able to collect on so much. And if I have the answer to it, I would share.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a client for me to help you. I'm happy to assist anyone that may need help because I understand the struggles that come with being in the medical field and trying to get paid for your services. So I'm always happy to help.
Going above and beyond.
Absolutely.
I love
That's
that.
the goal.
I love that.
Hi, my name is Peg Kenda, owner, CEO of Reliable Billing LLC. We specialize in outpatient medical billing. What has helped us grow, I would say, is our relationship that we are able to build with our providers. When there's a problem at Reliable Billing, the first thing I do is pick up the phone and come and talk to my providers and figure out exactly, where they stand and how they feel and work on fixing it.
For today, so thank you so much for making time for me.
Yeah.
Again, my name is Naya Harris. I'm with the ODM English show. It was a pleasure to have Peg Kenda on our show today, and we thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Atii fi maatiin kee karaa Minisootaa keerii inshuraansii fayyaa argachuuf ulaagaa guutuu kan dandeessan yoo ta'u, Minisootaa keessa kan jiraattan, daangaa galii kan guuttan, filannoo inshuraansii gatii madaalawaa kan hin qabne yoo ta'e, odeeffannoo dabalataaf mn.gov/dhs/Minnesota Care ilaala.
Karaa Minnesota Care inshuraansii fayyaa argachuu akka dandeessan beektu nama navigator yookiin karaa agarsiiftuu jedhamurraa inshuraansii fayyaa iyyachuun gargaarsa bilisaa qaamaan argachuu dandeessu. mn.gov/dhs/Minnesota Care irraa caalaatti baradhaa.
Yeroo ofii keessanii fi maatii keessanii fayyatti eeddanii hawaasa keessanii fayyaa akka qabaatu qarqaartu. Minnesota Care Dr. Bira yeroo deemtanii fi qoricha keessanii kafaltii fi isin qarqaaruu danda'a. mn.gov/dhs/Minnesota Care irratti caalatti baradhaa.
Dhaabbata Oromoo Diaspora Media guddaa galateeffachuun barbaada waa'ee dhaabbata keenyaa gabaabamatti kan ibsuu fi carraan agarnu isaatii fi dhaabbati Sub-Saharan African Youth Family Service in Minnesota waggoota darbanii fi Minnesota keessatti African immigrant gidduutti tajaajila garaagaraa kennaa ture. Achi keessaa Ryan White inni jedhamu tokko yommuu ta'u innis komponentii 5 of keessaa qaba. Tokkoffaa medical, lamaffaa non-medical, sadaffaa transportation, arfaffaa psychosocial, shanaffaa mental health kan jedhamu irratti tajaajila garaagaraa kennaa jira. Lammaffaa HDI yookaan immoo almadaalii fayyaa kan jedhamu yommuu ta'u innis immoo HIV irratti xiyyeeffachuudhaan hawaasa gidduutti hubannoo uumuudhaaf miidiyaalee fi qaama hawaasaa garaagaraa wajjin hojii gurguddaa hojjechaa jira. Sadaffaa qorannoo HIV AIDS geggeessuu. Projektii ani irratti hojjedhu Commercial Tobacco Equity Project kan jedhamu rakkoo timboo daldalaa aarsuu yookiin xuuxuudhaan dhufu xiqqeessuu irratti projektii hojjetudha. Fakkeenyaaf hubannoo hawaasa keessatti uumuu akkasumas immoo miidiyaalee garaagaraatiin waa'ee timboo daldalaa kanaa sirriitti uummata biraan miidhaasaa uummata biraan ga'u. Miidhaa timboo daldalaa aarsuudhaan dhufu fakkeenyaaf fudhannee yoo ilaalle Ameerikaa keessatti qofa 800 waggaadhaan lubbuun isaanii timboo aarsuudhaan rakkoo wal qabatu lubbuun isaanii akka darbu ragaaleen garaagaraa argisiisu. Minnesota qofa fudhannee yoo ilaalle immoo namoota 6,500 timboo aarsuudhaan wal qabatee rakkoo dhufuun lubbuun isaanii akka darbu ragaaleen garaagaraa argisiisu. Timboo aarsuun timboo daldalaa aarsuun rakkoo garaagaraaf nama saaxiluu danda'a. Fakkeenyaaf rakkoo onneef, rakkoo sombaaf, rakkoo ijaa kan kana fakkaataniif waan nama saaxiluuf isa kana xiqqeessuudhaaf hojii garaagaraa hojjechaa jira. Fakkeenyaaf yoo barbaadan yoo timboo xuuxuu yookiin immoo aarsuu dhiisuu barbaadan cessation program yookaan gorsa sababa laannuuf teessoon keenya tajaajila kana argachuudhaaf teessoon keenya 2395 Yuunivarsiitii Aveenuu kutaa 200 keessatti nu argattu. Lakkoofsi bilbila keenyaa 651-466-3983 jettanii yoo nu bilbiltanii nu argachuu dandeessu. Fayyaa ta'aa, galatooma.